Say hello again. One of the things I'm looking forward to in the future is opening up through YouTube the longer version of these short videos. It's tough to cram a lot of material into this very short space. Today, I really want to tell you about an amazing social interaction, relational, that was tremendously impacting, one of the most impacting I've ever seen in my life. It has been a mile marker for 40 years, 45 years of my Christian life. And it's the story of Abraham. God calls Abraham, says, I want to speak to you. We're going to go over there, makes a call that's on his life. And he takes his nephew Lot with him. And they both are prosperous. They get successful. They've got herds. They've got servants. They've got, the large dose of success in their day. And Abraham, who's the patriarch, called by God, but he's the patriarch. Now, even in Jewish culture in those days, the firstborn son got an inheritance that outstripped almost every other family member. And so it was not that Abraham said to his son or his grandson, but he says to a nephew who's almost a non existent person, other than the covering the patriarch would put over him. Abraham, who has the promise, says to Lot, look, we're too big, we're too expansive. We need to separate and go in different directions. Now, what was so profound about that? Lot made a choice because he looked down the valley towards Sodom and Gomorrah, which was ultimately, obviously, we know was a bad choice. But at the time, it was an incredible choice. His flocks could flourish. It was just lush and green everywhere. Real estate was obviously all over the place for him. Commerce, all of the trade and produce down that could go on in there. It was a great choice for Lot to make. How could Abraham, who had the promise, make that offer? How can you and I stand in life before opportunities and not be pressed under the maximization of those opportunities? Because Abraham was not interested in developing the turf that was just available to him. He had a promise of a sonship. He had a promise of a future that was on his life. And Abraham was interested in building an altar to God. At the end of our life, it will not necessarily be the optimization of our options. It will be the fact of the history of altars that we have built with God. So Abraham stood in that place and he transcended the opportunity. Abraham, in the long run, was crushed under the opportunity that brought him so much. Now, we live in a world in our day that we are so fortunate to live in because we are called not only to be successful, but we're called to have what we do set on a lampstand in such a way that will shine and give light to all who are around it. We live in those days. But it's not just pursuing the maximization of the call, it's that transcending relationship with God where you can get into a situation and you don't have to maximize all of your best opportunities. You need to have a heart. You need to have a passion that is set on knowing Him. It's set on what is the next encounter. What is the next visitation of God where I come into the expansion of who I am. And out of that, I build an altar of consecration, an altar where I've encountered God, where God writes a new chapter in my life. That's what we're called to do. So yes, make good choices. Optimize all of the open doors that you have, but realize you need to live above them and not below them. Have a great day.